Hey guys, this is you can consider this the first episode of Design Flaws. It's going to be Design Flaws is going to be a show where I just off the top just rant about global events, politics. I mean, you can think of it as a little accessory listening tool for you to feel like someone's venting for you. I'll do all the yelling. I'll raise my blood pressure for you. I'll be the outrage. Funny enough, outrage for all you guys out there who can agree with me or who think that they should they feel like I'm saying something worthwhile. If not, I don't really care if you listen, but if you listen, it's cool. It'd be cool if you listen. I think it'd be fun, and hopefully we can have a lot of fun with it. But the next thing you're about to hear is going to be pretty much just verbal diarrhea. It's going to be essentially just a total dump of information. So, make of it what you will, but it's pretty garbage stuff. But garbage content ahead. Hopefully we can turn this into something cool. But this is the pilot, so see you soon, bitches. Fuck, dude. It's December 8th, man. December 8th, 2020. This is just straight up, just turn the microphone on, recording. I didn't write anything, didn't plan anything. Just debating whether I'm going to upload all this or not, but if you hear it out on YouTube, then I did. And this is going to be a long fucking first dump. I'm just going to label it like a dump or something, Just make it all a dump. A dump. Yeah. But Jesus, dude. I mean, have we been following the news, people? Have we been looking at what's been happening in these great, great lands? Some fucking good stuff. I mean, overall, you've seen... I don't know. I mean, look, a lot of people are calling the election. A lot of people are saying that it's over. I don't think it's over at all, actually. I think there's still a lot of time. I think that all Donald Trump has to do, is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's not something that's super complex. I don't know why a lot of people are, really, really dismissive of it. If you have any lefty friends that you're probably unable to tolerate at this point, they're all being very dismissive of it. They're all very, they like to say, "Oh no, like he's not gonna win," some of them will get triggered. Some of them are like, they're rooting for it like a Super Bowl. It's pretty weird. Like it, because it's just such a shit scenario. This whole scenario is, we have news networks and media companies and all sorts of things that basically are running the whole show. They pretty much select, curate, breed, and then place all this shit right in front of people, and people get pretty charged up about it. Right now, openly supporting the president makes you more of a victim of ridicule and harassment than I would say openly supporting Biden. And I think anyone believing all that bullshit about Proud Boys or all that shit, it's like, dude, give me a break, man. Like, don't read the news and assume the news covers everything. They cover what they want. They cover when they want. They cover it for a certain narrative, and that certain narrative is paid for by somebody. I'm talking to people right now, and they still believe in the Russiagate stuff, and I'm like, dude, how could you possibly believe the Russiagate stuff? Because if you were someone who actually prided yourself on, if you're gonna, let's say, if you're a lefty, right? This is a message to lefties. You can send this to your lefty friends if you want. If you're a lefty and you just you just look at your news and you assume that, well, this must be the full story, and I'm gonna be able to get triggered about this. I'm gonna make sure I get outraged about this. Like, I'm gonna take the editorial intentions of the editor and hopefully I get outraged about it. Like, you're falling for the trap. You're falling for the whole business model. I don't know if I've said this earlier, but it's incredibly obvious for a lot of people. And when you look around the world and you look around what's obvious, right? You look at the Trump supporter, and that is where you should understand, oh, wait a second. The guy voting for Trump gets that. He gets that this is a trap, and he actually doesn't have any animosity towards me. He's just very fervent in his support for the president. Like, that's something that you should appreciate. I mean, it's definitely not something that you should, ridicule and roast. And I understand that there's always going to be, snarky things on both sides, but, try lefties, try actually analyzing policy and looking at things from a non-biased view. Stop automatically assuming that because it has Donald Trump's name attached to it that it's a bad thing. Because if you did that, you would acknowledge things like Donald Trump's free trade. You'd acknowledge that free trade policies, maybe theoretically other countries would have less jobs because we decide to dump more jobs into the U.S., but all the countries that we're typically going to, dump jobs into are going to be pretty much, exploiting slave labor, underpaying their workers. They're going to be doing things that are way worse than, a low-wage job here. And stop ridiculing low-wage jobs. Like, stop assuming that people can't... I just accidentally pressed play and pause on this shit. But stop assuming that people can't, make their own decisions and be able to, do their own thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I think the message to the lefty should contain. I mean, I can't really break it down all right now. I have to think about it. But, it's not something that you should pride yourself on. Stop reading the Associated Press and Reuters and all these. I mean, Associated Press and Reuters, for all intents and purposes, used to be pretty good publishings. But unfortunately, the activist bias, I don't know, I wouldn't call them necessarily corporate bias, but I would call them, they definitely have activist bias. And it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I would say New York Times, Washington Post, a lot of places that just constantly go above and beyond to attack and defame the president are pretty obviously activists. They have activists working there, and they also have editorial bias that's pretty questionable. I mean, I don't know if you could say that it has connections to fucking potential CIA operations, maybe. I don't know, but it's definitely something that you can't sit and look around and be like yeah, okay, this is fair and balanced, because definitely not, right? Taking the anti-Trump position makes you not fair and balanced, because again, there's a reason people are voting for him. So don't always look at that reason as it must be hate, it must be white supremacy. Take that postmodernist shit out of it, right? Take your own identity and those things out of it, and look at the policy and look at the nations and look at the global climate, right? If you do that, then you actually will be able to understand things like why the free trade policy is actually good for the whole world. Even though, yes, theoretically, other countries could be enriched by our deficits, but I don't think that's necessarily a good policy given the fact that we're a global power. And, instead of looking at trying to always emulate these very small, allegedly democratic socialist counties or countries, Sweden, Norway, some of those countries that have free education, free healthcare. Instead of looking at that and just looking at it as a single only metric, everyone needs this, everyone. It's no, well, look, there are risks associated with being in America, and a lot of Americans are aware of that, right? And let's stop classifying, people based on all these arbitrary metrics. Let's look at what helps the core of America? The core of America is helped by people who actually can work, can continue to work. The core of America is helped by people who actually participate with the economy. And if you engage with the economy, then you should be protected by progressive tax law and, non-authoritarian operation ability. You should not be locked down as a state. You should not be, and then if you want to go at healthcare in a way that actually addresses the problem. Stop going this Kyle Kalinske. I don't want to call them all out, but you guys suck. You guys are actually one of the reasons why there is a divide, and you guys are totally riding the coattails of other people instead of making an actual legitimate assertion and inspiring people. David Pakman, all these people, they have these hard left biases, and it's you can't consider yourself efficient or engineering anything, or even consider yourself in the commentary space if you're not going to just simply address these things head on. You want to talk about healthcare? dude, how about talk to people in the medical field? How about instead of just emulating some shit you heard from Bernie Sanders, who, yeah, I love Bernie Sanders. I'm sure he's a great guy, but guess what? Like, his party stole the election from him. His party took it from him for a reason, right? So how about you do something that's a little more realistic and addresses the climate of the entire geopolitical sphere? Stop looking so narrowly, right? And then actually suggest solutions that will actually help the individual thing. So instead of being, say, for lockdowns, right? And then also being for free healthcare, right? Look at the actual incidences of death and mortality in America, and look at the actual incidence of death and mortality in Sweden. Compare them on actual comparable metrics. Stop comparing broad titles such as this mortality or that mortality. Compare them on actual metrics, and then provide a solution that's feasible, won't cost $30 trillion, and won't actually have to force people into a worser standard of care, or worser, that's insane, a worse standard of care. And before you say, oh no, standard of care never drops, like, look at the standard of care in the U.S. now, and look at how many Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements go out to employers and healthcare people who are charging for their services all over the country. Look at that. Look at that, and then look at adding a socialized system to it, and tell me how that will help anything, right? It won't help anything, right? The system currently has too much waste, too much filth, and anything you do is going to hurt people who don't deserve to be hurt, like doctors, like nurses, like people who actually get paid well because of private market incentive. Stop automatically assuming everything that's capitalist is somehow always prone to crony capitalism. If you really want to criticize crony capitalism, then you look in your own party, look at your own leaders, look at the deals and wheeling that they do all over the fucking world, especially with China, especially with all sorts of geopolitical interests, the expansion of the CIA, the military-industrial complex. Look at them and criticize them. Stop talking about how good the ACA was. The ACA didn't do shit. Nothing on any metric changed. Deaths did not go down. People's coverage did not actually translate to any sort of betterment of society, okay? It just added way more money onto the already inflated tax that a lot of people who earn money pay, okay? And I'm sorry if you are Antifa, if you are just completely, everything's a social construct, and if you're in this open border world and all this nonsense, then you, my friend, I genuinely implore you, instead of trying to convert the society that exists under these rules that actually protect people who are vulnerable, why don't you go and do this somewhere else? Why don't you look at California and look at New York and look at all these places where they tried these policies, where they defunded the police most recently, where they have allowed foreign investment, which, by the way, nobody voted on. De Blasio didn't take a vote from anyone to let foreign investors come and flood the streets of New York with Chinese and Russian money. That didn't happen under a vote. That happened under Bill de Blasio's specific interests, okay? Look at the people who you've elected in these countries, in these 6 states, and then look at the states that you're criticizing. You're often criticizing states that are doing much better than you. Texas is doing much better than you, California. I'm local to Dallas, okay? My friends, Dallas is, fuck Austin. Austin has now gone fully blue, but Dallas is firmly red, and Tarrant County is the only county that went blue this year. There's Tarrant and Collin County, and Collin County is a crust bucket full of libs, and Tarrant County is pretty disgusting. But, Tarrant County did go red, hard red. Fort Worth, thank you, Fort Worth. Thank you for staying where you guys are supposed to be. Thank you for voting in the interest of policies and economic freedoms that actually make the good things available and allowed. And these lefties who continue to think that everything's a social construct and that resources are infinite and there should be no meritocracy and everything should get an equal thing. It's like, look, I can agree with you on the empathy. I can agree with your empathy. I can empathize with you. But you're asking a lot of people who don't just get money for free. It doesn't grow on trees. You're asking a lot of doctors, lawyers, business owners, store owners, gas station owners. You're asking people who genuinely provide services, provide commodities for fees. You're asking them to pay a lot more money. And let's stop looking at this middle class shit, man. Look, if you're making over $150,000 a year or $200,000 a year, you and the rest of the people who make over, just even between $200,000 and $1 million, just between $200,000 and $2 million, that is the majority of tax revenue collected in America. Right there. Everybody else who's richer probably isn't paying taxes, okay? And before you go with some sort of lefty Bernie Sanders style like authoritarian taxation system, let's look at why and when taxes need to be paid, and let's look at how a business should be paying taxes, if they should be paying taxes, excuse me, if they should be paying taxes on should they be paying should a business that makes $5 million in 2019 and then loses $5 million in 2020 have to pay any taxes in 2020? They net are zero. They've made $5 million and lost $5 million. Should they have to pay any taxes? You know, and I don't think it's radical to believe that that business is, first of all, a very small business, employs a lot of people, a lot of people's livelihoods on the line. It's not just some multi-million dollar rich filth. No, it's like that is the working class of America. I mean, Steven Crowder says this all the time. He's like, dude, when am I not working class? I work 14 to 18 hours days a week. It's like, and that's the cold hard truth of it. The cold hard truth of it is that people work, and you need to be able to, you know, respect that and not constantly be looking to attack that. I mean, there's always these attacks, and it always comes in the form of this ridiculous taxation policy, which I just don't understand how people think this is good. Like, you know, Biden's tax plan, they say, oh, yeah, look at the middle class, though. The middle class is paying less taxes. Like, first of all, no, they're not. That's what the New York Times fake news wrote into, like, confident enough words for you to believe it. But if you actually look at the tax plan and look at the effective tax rate under specifically Trump's tax and incentives jobs act or whatever, like the taxes that people pay in the $70,000 range per annum is much less. It's like the effective tax rate of 20% or 25% or something like that, as opposed to like 32% or 31%. So, you know, you just got to stop reading all that shit and believing all that shit, and at least turn to the actual source of these stories and stop saying that it's the Washington Post, it's the Associated Press, like it's Reuters, dude. They're never wrong. It's like they're often wrong, and they post their retractions. And if you look at their retractions, they'll have a lot of retractions about the president. Now, that being said, do I think Reuters and Associated Press are more accurate than like the Post, the Times, and all these, the Washington Post? But the New York Post is amazing. I think if you want to go to the news, man, go to the New York Post. They light everybody up. They hold everyone's feet to the fire. Now, I mean, I'm not saying they're immune to editorial bias, but if you're talking about news, like, I mean, the things they covered, the New York Post, when no one else was covering it, man, oh man, they covered the Hunter Biden story. They were late. I think they kind of like had a little bit of editorial stuttering, but you know, they put it out. They put themselves out there. They covered the Hunter Biden story. They covered Russiagate. They have platformed so much information that's been left out of the majority of corporate media. Like, I'm impressed. I would assume that the New York Post should be compromised, but they're not. They're not, and they're doing well. So, I mean, like, you know, I would say if you want to read, go to the New York Post, you know, try to like listen to guys in the space like Steven Crowder or Shapiro or, you know, and obviously these guys are right-leaning, but like, again, stop engaging them on the outrage. Look at what they're saying about policy. Don't even acknowledge the viewpoint differences you may have with them on, you know, this or that or the other. Look at their assertions and then see how reasonable their assertions are. Like when you look at Crowder's assertions on border control, they're very reasonable assertions. At no point do you see xenophobia, because the thing is, when you realize that it's not xenophobia I'm fighting, and I'm trying to actually preserve a group of people who are providing a lot for the rest of the world, the rest of the nation, and you know, usually the highest engagers with the economy, and they're providing the most of the tax revenue. I mean, it's over 70% of tax revenue is provided by people who make, you know, $70,000 to probably I'm guessing. Someone can fact check it, dump it in the comments and stuff, but be respectful. Don't be an asshole. You know, the truth is that taxes are not paid. It's not. The truth is that, you know, you do need to protect that class of people. I'm okay with not allowing people to not pay their fair share. But, you know, that's like at the corporate tax level. That's like the $30 million plus a year businesses that, you know, are, you know, that again, they are employing a lot of people, giving a lot of livelihood. But, you know, you have to, if you want to talk about corporate taxes, You need to go with the big companies. Stop looking at the middle class. Stop looking at the working class. Stop looking at people who actually have to go and earn and keep the lights on and stuff. Look at like Amazon, okay? Look at Amazon and look at Facebook and look at Twitter and look at their taxes and look and see how much they're saving on their taxes, okay? I mean, Facebook is redirecting a lot of money that isn't taxed in the name of nonprofit to literally fund Democratic think tanks and Democratic campaigns, and then editorially curate all their content. Meanwhile, they're still paying everyone a bunch of fucking money. They're still paying Mark Zuckerberg a bunch of fucking money. You know, even though he tells you he's getting a $0 salary, it's like, no, you're not. You're a fucking liar, dude. You're making billions of dollars a year off of while the world is burning and while people are becoming more and more polarized than ever before, and you're the single biggest contributor to it. So, I mean, like, look, I have no hate for Mark Zuckerberg, but man, oh man, did you fucking fall off the bus, man. Like, you did something that no one else saw ever before. Like, you did something that it was unprecedented. It was impossible to imagine what he's accomplished, but you handed the fucking keys to the kingdom right over to the enemy, my friend. The same foreign forces that a lot of us don't want to. I'm telling you, go to California, try to get an apartment. And then come to Texas and try to get an apartment. And see how much easier it is to live here under these free market economy rules, where there isn't these authoritarian regimes, there isn't like crippling social welfare programs, we have sensible welfare programs in Texas, guys. Like, I think it's so funny that everyone is always criticizing Texas and Republicans. It's like, dude, we take care of a lot of people. There's a lot less homeless people in Texas than there are California, and the populations are very similarly different. Like, it's not proportionate. You know, it's not proportionate at all. And there's a lot. And these is all off the top. I'm just riffing again. If you wanna criticize me, be respectful, please. Don't be mean. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but like, you know, you look at like the rates of opioid and drug abuse in California versus Texas. Like, I'm comparing these two because they're both huge states with millions and millions of people. Like, and so, you know, you look at the ratio and the proportions, and Texas is a healthier state, and we have way more open gun laws, which are very sensible. We have background checks. We literally do not give out guns without background checks in Texas. You cannot go to a gun shop and buy a gun without a background check. You cannot go and walk in and walk out with a gun. Unless you have a very clean record and the background check immediately comes back. If the software for the background check says that it may take a few days to chase down some leads and do some processing, it'll do that. But, you know, you have a lot of, you have radically more free speech. We have less hate speech shit. Our universities are still pretty liberal, but dude, you have so much stuff in Texas that so many things, so much commodities, better land, better real estate prices. It's easier to make money here. It's easier to save money. The food's cheaper here. Restaurant services are cheaper here. I mean, like I could go out with $100 here and go to a really nice restaurant, whereas in California, that's not really going to be the case. I mean, it's like they've got an expensive ass building, an expensive ass mortgage to keep up, or a lease. And so, I mean, again, I'm not saying that like, you know, and the idea that California is nicer than Texas, like, you need to fucking, I mean, come on, can we be serious here, dude? Like, California nicer than Texas? Like, I mean, yeah, sure, you have a beach, but I mean, dude, like, everything's burning. I mean, nothing works, and it's not, it's like horrible, and you have like full lockdowns. I mean, come on, man, like. People can't even go walk. Like, some walking outside without a mask is like now arrestable in California, I'm pretty sure. Or it's like you can get in trouble for it or whatever. So I mean, like, let's be honest here. We have literally negligible amount of deaths differences than you guys. Negligible, and the case differences are higher, but the mortality is the only thing that really matters, and it's minimal. It's absolutely minimal. We have maximum bed capacities reached in a few hospitals in rural areas. But in our metropolitan areas, man, like, we're not at max bed capacity. So I mean, like, you're talking about a lot of different things that, I mean, these are broken down on multiple levels. It's liberty. It's like it's you know, it's just a simple matter of, you know, possibility and having liberty. But it's not something that I think that there's any reason for this much outrage. And so when you look at it and you see what the actual center is, you realize that it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad to be for a strong border. And you look and you listen, and instead of just assuming that you're instead of assuming, if you're a lefty, especially a white one, by the way, I'm brown, so before you come at me for any of this shit, like, listen, I'm brown, like, I'm a, I was born in America, but I'm a fucking dot not feather Indian, right? But but guess what? I'm a fucking Republican, baby, and I supported the president, and I supported conservative values because I believe that yes, there are probably a lot of people that don't like some of the things that have come out of conservative values, which again, if you want to argue the individual points, I think we can. But I can understand that not everyone can agree on that. But you cannot dispute the track record. You cannot dispute the better quality of life, how easy it is and how much healthier the middle class is in a state like Texas compared to California, right? And so, and again, people want to take sides and criticize. Hey, listen, man, you want to do it? Go to that state because it's working out so well, right? It's clearly working out so well when Gavin Newsom is setting down like very totalitarian lockdown rules while he's eating out, right? And people who are defending him, you're clowns. Stop defending him. Stop defending these people. Stop defending Hillary Clinton. Stop defending the DNC. Stop defending Obama. Stop defending people who are criminals or borderline criminals and are doing things that actually detract from the healthiness of the middle class that you so desperately want to protect, right? So think about that. Stop listening and reading to all these highly activist biased sources. Stop doing that. Instead, do yourself a favor, read policy, look at metrics, check out unemployment, check out median household income, stop accrediting. Look, just because Washington Post or Reuters or Associated Press or whoever the fuck you're going to cite told you that the unemployment was trending downwards, try and Google every single company that came back to the U.S. to handle and deal with the corporate tax cut that President Trump was giving them, and look at how many jobs they employed and do the fucking math. Because if you do that math, you'll understand that nothing in the Obama era that he did actually brought jobs back to the U.S. Not one thing. Did Trump bring every job back to the U.S.? No, there's still probably a lot of unemployed people. There's probably still at least 5 to 10 million unemployed people. Unemployment right now, since COVID was bad and the pandemic was bad. But stop looking to blame him for every single thing and think critically. Look at the actual history of events. You're looking at, you got people who are just automatically taking the anti-Trump position because they're like, well, there's no way he could be smart. And it's like, look, my friends, in 2016, Donald Trump had been laughed out of the Democratic Party, and he joined on the Republican ticket to run for the Republican presidency. You know why he got laughed at the Democratic Party? Before you say, oh, because Democrats are so smart and intelligent. No, because he has no part of him that would work with any special interests ever, okay? No part of him would work with the interactive machine cog things that work in there. And you want to talk about Republican special interest? You can, but you have to talk about that on the establishment side. And you cannot tell me the DNC is not the DNC is 100% an establishment organization. It is not a grassroots organization. And you can see that by how they automatically declined Bernie Sanders, his duly representatively elected primary victory. So Donald Trump arrives at the 2016 Republican National Convention debate. In the middle of the debate, he looks Jeb Bush, a member of, I believe the brother, of George Bush, the Bush dynasty, the fucking Bush dynasty. 8 years, and then father had, I believe, 4 years, right? The fucking Bush dynasty. He looks at his brother, right in the face, Jeb, and says, your brother lied us into a war and lost American lives. And the next day, when they tabulated the votes, Donald Trump had, I can't remember the exact number, but well over 60% of the popular vote. Landslide victory. I think it was like 66% or something like that. Okay? The people of this country love Donald Trump. And no, their love for Donald Trump does not come with racism, transphobia, or all the fucking phobias you can name. Each one of these people supports things like the First and Second Amendment, which give you, the trans person, the gay person, this person, that person, the ability to actually express yourself the way you desire. As silly as it may be comparatively when looking from a conservative point of view, I respect the ability for you to identify as whatever you want. What I do not respect is the ability for the government to compel my speech to be conforming to your ideology. I would like the ability to learn by grace and not by force. And that is something that is not radical, but is entirely conservative. And it's something that came out of the right. The right brought that to people who are constitutionalists are the ones who are prioritizing these things. And constitutionalism is not something the Democrats want. And if you say you're a constitutional Democrat, you need to re-educate yourself on like what some of these policies are. Open border policy, blowing up the electoral college, like all of these things. Like you really don't understand like how any of politics work. Like you cannot have scenarios where there's no electoral college. You cannot have scenarios where there's no border protection. I mean, you want to talk about border protection and xenophobia. Obama, to this day, you can look at the numbers now, has deported more people per month than Donald Trump. And then at the height of their individual deportation things, it still wasn't even close. You know why? Because Trump secured the border a lot better, so he has to deport less people. Detainees at the border, the numbers are very comparable. They're not something that didn't happen under the Obama era. They detained several hundreds of people in the Obama era. They detain several hundreds of people now. And on top of that, the photos you see on the media, a lot of them are actually like very insidiously cropped and placed from Obama era to Trump era for some reason. For some reason, they don't actually have photos, the real photos of the actual detainment camps there, but some of them are cropped. Like I believe even this is in one of these fucking fact checker websites where they say it. And so you look at this stuff, and you stop analyzing things from the outrage side. Stop acting like you're the voice for every victim that's unheard. Please, enough of that shit. Let's look at practically what we need to do. Let's look at practically what needs to happen. Stop doing all this fucking nonsense, because you're further. I mean, I can agree with you that we shouldn't have the white supremacists. We shouldn't have the KKK. We shouldn't have any of these. Like, let's keep in mind, Trump has labeled the KKK a terrorist organization, as well as BLM. Okay. So let's be understanding that Donald Trump is being very fair, and he's not. He's denounced all these things numerous times, tens and tens of times, and I don't think we should. I don't think it's at all consistent if you're not going to at least have the left answer for their policies. They don't answer for their policies. They get softball questions in interviews. They don't answer about the crime bill. They don't answer about they don't answer about desegregationist policies. They don't answer about putting people on death row. I mean, like and they don't. And Obama never answers for anything. Obama never answers for expanding the privileges of CIA. Trying to hunt Snowden down like a Salem witch trial, processing more whistleblowers under the Espionage Act. So understand that evil is not partisan. Evil is nonpartisan, and it happens everywhere. And why millions and millions of people voted for Trump was not because he's a fascist, not because he's a racist, not because he's a homophobe or a transphobe or all this fucking stuff that you want to say he is. It's because he's not characteristic of a politician who is curated and bred by the swamp. He's an individual with establishment, with no establishment ties, with 100% authenticity. And yes, he's not perfect, but boy, oh boy, was he an amazing president. And boy, oh boy, despite the media and other entities trying to keep us at war, and the media and other entities trying to keep our economy low, and places like, states closing down entirely to cripple the economy, man, oh man, did we have the best economy when this guy was around, man. I mean, we still have a really good economy, like, overall, because none of his policies have been repealed. But I mean, dude, like, you want to talk about the economy. I mean, these lefties are like, oh, dude, because of Obama, dude. I have a fucking friend, man. Is she a fucking cunt? She's like, it's because of Obama, dude. It's because of Obama. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? It's because of Obama. What do you mean it's because of Obama? Well, what policy did Obama do that helped the world? Obama released sanctions and deregulated all the sanctions that we have with other countries. And on top of that, Obama spent more in the military than anyone else before. Off the books. We were in more secret wars because of Obama, dude. We were in Libya. Trump pulled us out of Libya. Who the fuck thought we were in Libya, dude? That was under the Obama administration. And so, you talk about outrage. Be consistent in your outrage. Stop being so outraged at Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't do anything to you besides make your life freer and make your taxes lower, okay? So give credit where credit's due. You look at everyone that likes Trump as a Trump bootlicker while literally bootlicking the fucking left establishment. Do you realize how silly you look? Because when it comes to you, when they come for your freedoms, my friends, like they're doing right now in California, they're locking down business owners. Bro, guess what? Some of those business owners probably voted Biden because they thought he was he was less racist than Trump, even though it's not even true. Biden said more racist shit on the record, but they probably voted Biden. And their state locked them down, bro. Look at, if that's you, man, analyze why people stand up for the Constitution. Analyze why conservative values have a place in the marketplace. Stop banishing them from all of the common public forms of discourse. Analyze that. See why people actually believe that. Why do people love the First Amendment? Why do people love the Second Amendment? Why do people not want to have hate speech designated as a real thing? Why do people actually why are people in favor of progressive tax rates? Progressive tax plans, not progressive tax rates, not high tax rates, but low tax rates, right? Why do people like that? Why do people like having sovereignty? Stop undermining all of that with this stupid everything. Every argument for it is always, oh, people need money, people need this, people need that. It's always these outrageous things, and it's all outrage basically. It has nothing to do with anybody's actual livelihood or well-being. It's always comparatively comparing the metrics of Europe to the US, and it's dude, what are you talking about? Go to Europe, exist in Europe, start a business in Europe, run a business in Europe, make money, start a blog, post controversial shit, come here and do it, right? I mean, look at what you cannot people. I mean, I have a friend the other day who told me China's a state capitalist economy, and I'm like, why are you defending the Chinese, dude? Bro, they literally have internment camps where they have interned millions of people. So let's stop talking about them as, and no, the border patrol camps are nowhere near that. I'm sorry. When you're getting sandwiches and water bottles and you're sitting in a hotel room, you're not under duress. You're not, dude, there's no real human rights violations going on there. And before you say, oh, they separated the kids at the border. Yeah. That was under Obama. Obama actually thought it was inhumane to actually have kids in the same cells or holding areas as their parents. So he did that. He was the first. So you want to thank someone for doing that? Why don't we be consistent and thank him for doing that? Let's stop being so fucking Trump deranged for a little bit, because right now you've given a institution, the DNC and their co-conspirators, all sorts of reasons. You voted them enough in the margin of error for them to inject hundreds of thousands of fake ballots, millions of fake ballots probably, and they disposed of probably millions of Trump ballots. So, I mean, you effectively, your activism has single-handedly screwed up the country, okay? And not in a good way. Again, you can cheer, you can laugh at me, you can be like, oh my God, yes, we can now recognize all non-binary rights while the world is burning, while I'm literally in a fucking house, in an apartment. I can't even go outside because of a pandemic. I'm going to Postmates everything. You can realize that, but look at how many people are going to die now. Look at how many people are going to starve in the global scene. And you need to realize that, because, I mean, you're insane if you believe that shit, man. You're fucking insane if you believe that anything coming out of these these Democratic politicians' mouths or anything at all important, man. These people are insane. Gavin Newsom's a maniac. Fucking Meatball Cuomo, he's a fucking nutcase, dude. I mean, all these people are completely insane. And if you think that for any reason any one of them is great, man, oh man, I feel so bad for you, because if only you could have simply understood the true intentions behind their work, maybe you could have prepared yourself better. Maybe you could have actually looked at the global view of what's happening everywhere in the world right now, with China, with the EU, with the WHO, with Mexico, with America, with Canada. If you could look at that, maybe then you would have been able to understand that, you know what, I gotta vote in the interest of the individual and not the group. And if I vote in the interest of the individual and all these individuals respect each other, then, well, we'll have a pretty healthy society. But instead, you voted for the party that is neoconservative. They don't like black people any more than the bad guys you always call the boogeyman, right? They don't. They're as white supremacists as it comes. Like, I mean, they. You want to talk about segregationists? You want to talk about crime bill? You want to talk about? I mean, the list fucking goes on and on. People, let's stop acting like these people are heroes. Okay, let's stop posting pictures of Joe Biden in sunglasses. I see this shit on my Instagram time feed, dude. Joe Biden in sunglasses, dude, and he's like trying to look all sexy, and it's like, dude, this guy gropes and touches and rapes and does shit, and he fucking goes to China and gets $1 billion here and gives his son $1 billion, and he goes and gives his brother $1 billion. He's like, oh, you want a $50 million housing contract? I'm the ambassador in all these areas. Like, dude, he literally like skirts and beats the law all the time. He doesn't actually follow any of it. He makes money. His family's made billions of dollars. His family has literally made over $2 billion or more since his like start in politics. I mean, he meets with more fucking lobbyists. He meets with more pharma, more healthcare. He's literally the fucking wheeler and dealer of the left, man. And you voted this guy in. He has dementia. And they're going to Amendment 25 this motherfucker, dude. They're going to Amendment 25 this motherfucker to give this bitch this whole issue to Crime Bill Kamala, bro. Crime Bill Kamala. Crime Bill Kamala is literally going to basically, the lady who, the crime bill, I mean, she was a supporter of the fucking 3 Strike Act from Bill Clinton. I mean, both these people were like on the same train on this shit. I mean, they were taking money from prison lobbies, dude. Are you serious? And now they're the same party telling you defund the police. You dummies don't understand. Just because AOC looks younger and newer and nicer, she's aligned with the same interests that corrupted and fucking screwed over minorities across America, across the inner city. You know? I mean, you look, this is the same thing happens with LBJ. They say, oh, we want to welfare the whole thing and socialize the whole motherfucker top to bottom and get everyone making money. And it's like, dude, you don't understand. Lyndon Baines Johnson, this motherfucker, his model cities and socialized welfare programs incentivized all sorts of irregularities in the black community right now, man. Like, I mean, it's not rocket science, bro. And it's not racist to identify that, okay? It's not racist at all. Actually, it's completely anti-racist, because I believe the bigotry of lower expectations is ridiculous. That's way worse than like the 1 out of 15 million like actual Klan members that probably exist in America, or the 1 out of whatever. Like, I mean, like please, like, let's stop acting like the Klan and fucking. I mean, like, you hear these people, man. You hear these people talk about like why they voted Biden. I voted Biden because of racism. And you're like, your brain just melts. You're just like, what? Like, you didn't think about the economy. You didn't think about the joblessness. What about homelessness? What about like our foreign policy, dude? Like, what about things that affect everyone? Like, what about the people in Hong Kong? What about Taiwan? What about all the people who rely on America to exercise this kind of regime? I mean, the Obama regime didn't do shit, but the Trump regime was pretty fucking humanitarian, man. It was pretty humanitarian. It was pretty nice. Not a lot of wars. After you fire Michael Bolton, the whole shit turned around for the better. And people loved it. And like, I'm literally like shook. I'm at a loss of words. Like, how, because they think it's funny. They think they roast us and they say, ha ha, you lost. And it's like, no, dude, you don't understand. I'm self-sufficient. I'm worried for people like you. You've been indoctrinated. You've been lied to. You've been misled, misinformed, and you believe it with a guttural conviction that is pretty damning. It's pretty bad. I mean, you're looking at the whole world in this open border lens and this fake empowerment lens, and you're trying to empower the whole world. Meanwhile, the same people who've been playing chess behind the fucking curtains are only going to do it more because there are less rules, less freedom, and less rules. And I'm just like, I mean, it's not me, man. Like, you know, I'll pay a little bit more money in taxes. I mean, I'll do whatever I have to do to get by, but it's for Hong Kong, man. It's for Taiwan. I mean, those people are getting kidnapped by the Chinese government. And meanwhile, SNL and all these worthless, I mean, you guys call yourself comedy, but it's like ridiculous. You guys are making jokes about Republicans not liking the Chinese Communist Party while the Chinese Communist Party is persecuting people for civilian dissent. It's the most inconsistent thing I've ever seen. It's egregious. I mean, it's fucking horrendous, man. Like, these are design flaws within the actual Democratic Party, and these are some of the sections. I mean, forget the AOC, this wing. No, it's politician/elite and common man and civilian. And the civilian, I don't know who's been more misguided in history. Who has been more? I think the last people I can think of are like the Nazis or something, man. Like, the Nazis were really misguided. But right now, you have Antifa, BLM, people who support that secondarily, who vote, at least like they'll vote in the favor of the more authoritarian regime, the more authoritarian part of the government. And, you know, it's insane, man. I mean, I can't even, like, a lot of, I mean, you could, any leftist principle is going to be pretty insane off jump. Like, they say, oh, we're going to socialize the whole country and stuff. And then, you know, it doesn't, you know, actually, you know, that is more like a policy thing, and it's less of like an outrage thing, right? So they want to, like, you know, bring Medicare for all or programs and things, and then so you have to like debate the merit of the program. But if you just talk about like just the guys who say Trump's racist, Trump's a fascist, Trump is a xenophobe, and it's like, Muslim support for Trump went up because he bombs those countries less. He does less drone strikes. He does less bombings. He does less things. They like him more. He does less extra. He doesn't do as many. The numbers on, no one's unclassified like Trump's military record, but Obama's has been unclassified. My friend Snowden, not my friend. I don't actually know Edward Snowden. Sorry. He's not my friend. I don't know why I said that. Snowden has given the world that information. WikiLeaks has given the world, Julian Assange. These people, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't know these things. You wouldn't know any of this stuff. You would literally be lied to over and over again. And yet the lefty never, like, I mean, they idolize these people. I mean, they idolize these people. And sometimes people are like, oh, you idolize Trump. And it's like, look, I idolize Trump not in the same way you idolize Kamala Harris, you weirdo. I idolize Trump because he stands strong against all of these like special interests. And from 2016 to 2020, a lot of those special interests went single direction, unilaterally against him in a unidimensional fashion. They did not at all have any real difference. I mean, the people went for him in a, I would say, like a populist fashion, but, you know, these special interests really didn't. And so, I mean, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's not, I mean, it's clearly not working. I mean, it's clearly not, you know, it's clearly not a good thing. I mean, you know, that all this is happening with the left, but I mean, you guys, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're a lefty, or if you have a friend who's a lefty, man, they're insane. I mean, I think what would make them learn in terms of like how they would realize these things, I think it would be it'd probably be a like if they were you know, when it's like, again, if you're the business owner and then the government, if you're a business owner and then you voted, you know, you vote Democrat, you're a registered Democrat, but you're a business owner, and that is how you make your money. and the government isn't giving you money because they don't plan on giving you money, and they actually can't give you. You guys realize that the government can't give you the amount of money you make, right? Even if you make a very little money, the government can't give that to you for a long time. It doesn't work. I mean, you're devaluing the dollar at a massive rate. Like every time you print a dollar, it devalues the dollar, because it's all about what's in circulation. Even though we're not backed by anything, and everyone like is like, well, it's just a construct. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't a construct that keeps like global markets in play. So it's not good necessarily to keep doing it. I mean, the idea that you earn money from what is in circulation is probably a little bit better, right? And you focus on equal taxation, maybe. I mean, I can give you lefties some ideas to bring into your party to like actually reform the discourse, but you know what's happening right now is the Republican Party is becoming the actual progressive party. I mean, we're becoming the party of sensible liberty rules, and we're not going to pander to the LGBTQ community as much. We're not going to like be authorizing. You're not going to be enabling kids to get hormone replacement therapy, like an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old to get hormone replacement therapy. But we'll be against war. We'll be against torture. And I mean, Donald Trump. If you look at Political Compass, I believe is a website. Donald Trump's. Let me look at this right now. Actually, I want to see while we're on the air, because I'll read it to you. Because I mean, see, the thing is, all this has just been a dump. No part of this has been congruent. I don't know if anyone's gonna make it up here. I welcome for you to forward around in it. I'm just trying to like create a little space where like I've had a lot of feelings about this election. I've had a lot of I've read a lot of stuff, and I'm going through a lot as far as how ideologically like I match up to my peers, and I really don't have much representative support in my peer groups, and a lot of my close friends are hard lefty. And I mean, obviously politics is politics, but a lot of this is still very important, and it's important that people actually vote in the direction that they feel they have to. At least again, if you rationalize your position and comparably, not compared apple to oranges, but actually look at like what's happening on the ground and how this affects people on the ground, then I think it's fine for you to vote blue. I mean, if you really believe in open borders, I mean, that's fine. But if you just think that it's about protecting someone who's weaker than you, and that's your whole savior complex, and it's just like trying to be the voice, I mean, I don't know if that's like a good thing, man. Like, let me see. Political Compass. Let's see. Is Trump on this shit, bro? I don't even know. How the fuck I think my brother was telling me this. Political Compass, Donald Trump. Yeah, I don't know about this. This looks pretty stupid. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that this is the case. Vox. Bro, Vox is so funny, bro. Holy shit. This is so funny. Dude, Vox is so fun. I go to Vox for comedy now, man. Like, I read what Vox has just because it's just so comedically hilarious. Like, oh my God, dude. Like, let me see if I can find a Vox article. Let's see if I can find out. Understand the news, bro. Bro, let's see. Let me search Trump. Let's see something ridiculous. Why do they have one simple thing Trump can do to boost a COVID-19 vaccine after he leaves office? Bro, are you really going to criticize like the vaccine production? And like I saw that article where they're like, we don't have enough Pfizer vaccines because Trump didn't buy enough. And it's like, bro, because there's a limited supply, and like, fiscally speaking, like I don't understand like the argument. There's AstraZeneca, there's other vaccines that are cheaper. Like, like this is not a binary issue. Why are you treating it like a binary issue? And then immediately selectively breeding the outrage. That's the funny thing. Trump's Georgia rally was supposed to pump up Loeffler and Perdue. It ended up as a grievance fest. Let's read this one. Trump paid lip service to the importance of voting while insisting the election was stolen from him. Outgoing President Donald Trump has traveled to Valdosta, Georgia on Saturday for a rally that was ostensibly meant to pump up voters and encourage them to run. But perhaps, unsurprisingly, Trump ended up having a hard time talking about anything but himself and his grievances. It's like, bro, I think you've missed the whole idea of the Trump rally. People were not there to fucking see Loeffler and Perdue, dude. Are you fucking idiot? They were there to see Donald Trump, and you could see the crowd. It was insane. There's probably like, I don't know, it looked like there was 50,000 people there, maybe 40,000 people there. So I don't know the exact numbers. Let's actually look that numbers up while we're on air. Trump Valdosta rally numbers. Let's see. It says thousands here. That didn't look like that. It looked like at least 10,000, 20,000, bro. Like there was people in the outside, the inside. Like there was people inside and outside. Like people drove from different areas. Like I don't know. It looked like a lot of people, but anyways, you know, this is how they do this stuff. It's like this is clearly biased. Like Vox is clearly biased on this shit. Like there's no way that you could read this and think that like, bro, what did Trump do there? He went to Valdosta for a rally that was supposed to pump. It did pump up voters. He literally said, if you watch the rally, he pumped up a lot of voters and like, but it was about him because it's Donald Trump. He's rallying for other people, but not like for the intention of not keeping the eyes on him, dude. It's motherfucking President Trump, dude. Like, what do you mean? Oh, it turned into bro. It's not grievances, bro. These are like open fight. Like, bro, we are waiting for the SCOTUS. We are waiting for a lot of people. It's not something that I think that, you know, is so complicated to understand. I don't know why they write it like this, as if this is like some sort of a, you know, like this is like some sort of astute like perspective on the whole issue. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's Donald Trump going to Valdosta, Georgia, and talking to his supporters. I don't see how it's so complicated, and a lot of them are, you know, believe that the election was defrauded, and that's the idea that election integrity. This is another thing that came from the left recently because of the election. It's the idea that election integrity is for any reason like never supposed to be questioned when like it's a fascist in office, like. And it's like, what, dude? Like, bro, are you telling me that that's a radical position to question election integrity when, you know, a lot of these states made very, very oddly convenient purchase agreements to buy like tens of millions of dollars of voter equipment from Dominion, and now WikiLeaks is putting out a bunch of different weird emails, really conspicuously showing that Dominion and the DNC and the Clinton Foundation have talked a lot about Donald Trump. And I mean, come on, like, are you really going to ignore like whistleblowers that are saying something opposite of what the news tells you? Like, how often has the news been right? Like, haven't we had enough? Like, didn't the New York Times tell people that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Like, wasn't that one of the main websites that was the main editorial bodies that was telling people that there was weapons of mass destruction? I just don't understand why people constantly over and over again that they just need to lean into their narrative. They don't need to rationalize anything based off of the available spread of information, but they'll just rationalize. They'll just cherry pick it. They'll just be like, oh, well, Trump said this bad thing this time. And I think he's like pretty like, they'll use like these like conclusive words. They'll say he's pretty obviously a racist. And it's like, what do you mean obvious? What the fuck do you mean obviously a racist? Obviously, we don't know what the fuck obviously means. Obviously, you have a different definition for obviously than I do. Like, what do you mean obviously he's a racist? My friend was like, you don't think he's legitimately, like, you don't legitimately believe that, do you? And I was like, that he's not a racist? You're asking me what the legitimacy is of me believing he's not a racist, dude? How about you, the person who asserted that he's a racist, legitimately back your argument up then, right? Because isn't that how it's supposed to work? The burden of proof's on you, buddy, right? But just in case you put it on me, then I had to fucking go and actually reference like the full context clips, the actual like videos of like his alleged instances then, and then actually break down his border policy and break down like all of the I have to go into the macro of like racism and like things that Obama did. Excuse me. I'm like kind of half burping. That's disgusting. That's ugh, gross. But dude, I mean, come on, man. Like you're asking people to identify like racism in Trump, and like you're like looking for it, and you're like, oh yep, that was bad, and then you're just going and these people are publishing about it. And the funny thing is like it's all in the profit model, dude. Like activism got cool recently, and I think the DNC understood that. I think that news organizations understood that. I think that the editors themselves understood that, and the editorial like leanings understood that. I think that all these things became cool. It became cool to do all this shit. So now they're all just, getting on to, this one singular narrative about Donald Trump and constantly underreport. The only time they report anything good about him is when he bombed Syria, which like the Republicans weren't even a fan of. We were like, hey, don't bomb Syria, fire Michael Bolton, which he did. Thank God. Thank God he fired Michael Bolton, because holy shit, like was it kind of looking like we're about to be swamp again? But he fired Michael Bolton. He kept running for the people. Like, and I mean, dude, like, outside of that so the only issue Trump supporters really have with Donald Trump is the very individual positions of like having Michael Bolton on and then having a globalist like semi-warmongering. It was nowhere near as warmongering as Obama. Like the number of drone strikes that were happening, the number of bombings that were happening was nowhere near Obama's numbers. Obama's numbers from independent assessments are like insane. Like, so we're talking like 30,000 people, possibly, maybe more people, like just in like, I'm just ballparking some of the information. There's probably tons of secret wars and all sorts of like, the death tolls could be hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, it could be 500,000 people. You don't know. So, I mean, Trump very clearly had only basically, Michael, those bad moments with Michael Bolton, which he fired, and then he fired a lot of the warmongering war hawks in the Pentagon recently. And he's really good on policy as far as foreign policy goes. So I mean, even though he's had some bad moments, we acknowledge, hey, we don't like this about you, Trump. And then I mean, I think he somehow listened to us, and he literally like lost that shit. Like, so I mean, look, you gotta, if you're the type of person right now who's like voting against Trump because of his racism, dude, I feel bad for you. I wish you well, but I think you're a complete idiot, and I mean that respectfully. I think you're a complete idiot. You're totally not looking. You're not giving any credence to ideas that don't sound flashy to you, and you're really kind of like egotistically making yourself this like savior complex person, because you're not. It's not your job to save people. It's your job to actually have the narrative right. Your job is to actually understand what's happening on every side and then pick the side that has the least damage. And with Donald Trump, that is the side that has the least damage. And no, there's no like the divisive thing. I mean, dude, I was talking to I don't want to say the person's name, but not the name, or even, I mean, if they ever listen to this, I don't think they will, but I mean, I don't think anyone's going to listen to this shit. But, I was talking to, I'll just say one of my friends, it's just one of my friends. I won't explain the exact relation, but, and she is a Muslim person, and before the election, I guess like she hadn't been talking to Muslim people about the election, but then I guess once like after November 3rd, we got on a FaceTime call, and she started talking to the election to some of her Muslim friends, and had found out that a lot of them probably voted Trump, right? Because a lot of, that happens. A lot of people actually vote Donald Trump, but they just don't tell anyone because they don't want to have to deal with all that bullshit, right? So she said, yeah, she told me like as if it was the first time she heard about it in the last 4 years. She was like, yeah, like Donald Trump, a lot of people voted for him because, yeah, he has like, refugee bans and immigration bans from these countries. It's honestly, I don't even think it's like actual full immigration bans. I'm pretty sure you can still be Muslim and immigrate. It's like these certain countries we're in conflict with, where he brought peace to. Like he was like, we're not gonna just take swaths and swaths of folks. So, and destabilize America. But because I mean, dude, you have to actually like look at the ideological balance, and you have to look at the FBI and a lot of the incidents of organized terror that has gone up since, like, especially in refugee populations. Like people who debunk that shit are literally like negating Obama era and like FBI prosecution. So anyways, like she says, yeah, I mean, people like Donald Trump because people in the Muslim communities, the few I guess the minority that do like him, I think from her, I think like what I'm gauging from her was that it was about like a third, maybe a fourth to a third of people like Donald Trump, the Muslim community, because he bombs the other countries less, and he bombs like their home countries less. So yeah, he doesn't like specifically having Muslims ban. I guess like you want to call a Muslim ban. I'm actually gonna like let me see. I'm gonna actually fact check this while we're here because I don't want to say something wrong. Okay, let's see. Okay, so okay, this is a little too comprehensive. I don't want to read all this shit, but I might have to cut some of this shit if this is going to take too long. But anyways, I mean, look, I don't have any fucking direction with this shit, man. I'm just like ranting, expressing my thoughts. These are all like free-based thoughts that I need to, get out there. But, if anyone feels like this or thinks this is cool or funny or interesting or not, or if you don't think it's cool or funny or interesting, let me know. Hey, send me your hate mail, Send me your hate comments, your hate mail. I think that this is pretty. I think the time that we're in right now is going to be studied for years. I don't think that this is at all, at all going to be over anytime soon. I think that we'll really know who's president by January. In sometime in January. I don't even think the safe harbor deadlines and shit really matter. Because I think the safe harbor deadlines do matter, but they don't. If the election's in dispute from the legislature side, I don't think it matters. So I think everyone's going to have their own opinion. There's different legal scholars listening to different things. But look, regardless, I hope that, everything is Gucci with y'all. Don't riot, burn down things. Just remain peaceful, remain calm. If you're a conservative listening to this, man, we'll weather the storm, man. If you're a liberal, I hope that something I've said didn't offend you. I really mean it. But I want you to, listen to people like Steven Crowder, listen to people like Ben Shapiro, challenge their facts, challenge their, ignore the goofs and the gaffes and the stuff that may not be super flattering, but look at what they say policy-wise and see why like probably, 75 to 80 million people don't agree with you on how a demented person named Biden should be president. So, but I think that's going to be all. I think I'll have to like make another episode after this. So, all right. Peace, fam.